Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Chuck Manning. President Donald Trump's nominee for U.S. Supreme Court, Judge Brett Kavanaugh, has been accused of attempted rape by a psychology professor from Northern California, Christine Blasey Ford. Although so far no concrete evidence has been found in support of Ford's accusations, Democrats were quick to denounce Kavanaugh and urged Americans to accept Ford's testimony as truth, while also asking for an additional FBI investigation into Kavanaugh, since as a nominee, Kavanaugh has already gone an FBI background check. Senator Chuck Schumer of New York said, quote, "There is no presumption of innocence for Kavanaugh because this is simply a fact-finding exercise." Senator Kristen Gillibrand, also of New York, said, quote, "I believe her because she is telling the truth, and you know it by her story." Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut said, quote, "I believe Dr. Ford. I believe the survivor here. There's every reason to believe her. She has come forward courageously and bravely, knowing that she would face the nightmare of hostile and vicious scrutiny and challenge." Also, despite lack of evidence, Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts stated that she believes Ford. On September 17, Joe Biden said, quote, "Women's claims of sexual assault should be presumed to be true." Here with the reaction on all this is Chuck Manfred. Thank you very much, Chuck. Now, this debacle is something that should concern all Americans, both Democrats and Republicans. Chuck Schumer said there is no presumption of innocence for Kavanaugh because this is simply a fact-finding exercise. So what is he saying? That everyone has a presumption of guilt in a fact-finding exercise? Second comment, Kristen Gillibrand says, quote, "I believe her because she is telling the truth, and you know it by her story." I believe her because she is telling the truth. That is what is called begging the question, or as it is most commonly known, a circular argument. She is telling the truth because we know it by her story. That is a circular argument. It's nonsensical and it makes no sense. Richard Blumenthal says he believes the survivor. How do you know she is a survivor? He also says there is every reason to believe her. What reasons are those, Mr. Blumenthal? He continues that she has come forward courageously and bravely, knowing she would face a nightmare of hostile and vicious scrutiny and challenge. That I do agree with. But that still does not prove her story. That still is not every reason to believe her. Now, Senator Mazie Hirono, a Democrat from Hawaii, said something so stupid and sexist that I'm not even going to repeat it. However, I do believe that Senator Hirono needs to shut up and do the right thing by upholding the law. That's all I will say on that. And of course, Elizabeth Warren believes Dr. Ford simply because she believes her. Now, one thing that bothered me very much is Joe Biden's comment. Joe Biden says that women's claims of sexual assault should be presumed to be true. That was according to the Muff Post. Now, perhaps Joe Biden has forgotten a little thing called the Emmett Till case, where a white woman accused a 14-year-old black boy of sexually harassing her. He was eventually lynched because they believed the accuser. They just simply believed her without any evidence. Now, is that what Biden and the Democrats want? Do they want to return to the days where an accusation was enough to convict someone? And to think that this man was one heartbeat away from the presidency. Unfortunately, later it turned out that the accusation against Emmett Till was false. His accuser retracted his story. Senator Warren has been using this incident to raise funds. Now, I bring up Senator Warren because in her state of Massachusetts, there was a little thing called the Salem Witch Trials, where people were accused, again falsely, of being witches. 20 of those people were killed. And like Emmett Till, 19 of them were lynched. Technically, those were not considered lynchings because they were done with the approval of the authorities. But for all intents and purposes, it's the same. An innocent African American male was killed, was lynched based on a false accusation, and 19 people were hung on the gallows based on false accusations. Now, I'm not here to argue Kavanaugh's guilt or innocence. But in this country, we do have something called innocent until proven guilty. That is the cornerstone of our justice system. While Democrats may argue that this wasn't a court of law, and therefore it doesn't apply, I disagree. And I'm confident that many, if not most, of our founding fathers would also disagree. That attitude is not in keeping with the spirit of the law. It is not in keeping with what the founding fathers probably intended. Why should someone lose a job or be prevented from getting a job simply by an accusation? And if the accused happen to be innocent, then you are depriving them of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which are human rights enshrined in our Declaration of Independence. The Democrats handled this horribly, and the Democrat Party should be ashamed of themselves. Back to you, Chuck.
Thank you, Chuck. Chuck Manfred, ladies and gentlemen, always giving us hard-hitting commentary on the day's topics. Thank you for joining us. We hope you'll join us next time. And good night.